All right, it is 1 o'clock, so we will go ahead and get started. Welcome to our Canvas Day session of this TLT Summer Series. Just a quick reminder, if you weren't able to be here last week for our One Cool Thing session, you can vote still. The recording is in our YouTube channel. Jane's gonna post the link for us in the chat. So if you wanna watch all of the sessions, and then the voting form is in the YouTube description. So you can click on that and vote for your favorite. We're gonna announce the winner on July 22nd at our very last Canvas Day session of the summer series. So please do that if you weren't able to make it last week. Another reminder, just make sure you post all your questions into the Q&A for today's session, not the chat, so that everybody can see them. And today we have Brianna here from Instructure, the creator of Canvas, and she's going to be talking about what's new in Canvas. So as usual, you can post your questions in the Q&A, and as she gets to the different sections, she's gonna stop and answer. So just go ahead and, as you come up with questions, go ahead and post them and she'll get to them as she does. So I'll go ahead and turn things over to Brianna.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Thank you all for allowing me to attend this and give you guys some insight into what's coming up in Canvas. I just wanted to give you guys a chance to see my face. I'm probably going to stop sharing my video once I start the presentation. I don't want my audio to lag at all. So let me share my screen. Can everyone see this okay?
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. All right. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to quickly go over what I'm going to be covering with all of you today. So there's 4 different items or features that I wanted to make you all aware of and kind of walk you through. Some of them, actually one of them is available right now in your Canvas environment. It's currently allowed, so you would have to enable it if you did want to use it, and that is the Canvas Analytics feature. So I'm going to walk you guys through how to do that if you have not done it in your courses already, if it's something that you do decide you want to try out. So we'll be going over new analytics. I'll also be covering rich content editor enhancements. So this is something that we have been working on for a while here at Instructure. And it's going to replace what you currently use when you are editing pages and assignments and things like that. So I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. And then we're also going to go over some student assignment enhancements. So really, this is only going to affect students, but it is important, I feel, for you as instructors and administrators to kind of know what the student experience is so that when questions arise, you are better able to answer those. The student assignment enhancements, that one is still just beta only. And when I say beta only, it's available for administrators to test in a beta environment. So it's not quite available in production. The date that will be released is still to be determined, but either way, I'll still cover what that's currently going to look like for students when they're submitting assignments. And then I'm also going to be covering new quizzes, so we're going to talk about what that's going to look like, how you can build those quizzes with the new quizzes engine, and then I'm also going to kind of give you a preview of how students are going to view those quizzes on their end as well. It is slightly different. And then we can also talk about the current migration strategy that we have for transitioning classic quizzes to new quizzes. So that's kind of the agenda that I wanted to stick with today. Like Kristen said, I'm going to go over new analytics, and then I'm going to pause and I'm going to take a look at the Q&A and try to answer all of your questions to the best of my ability. Please keep in mind, I'm not a product manager, so I may not have all of the answers for you right away, but if there's something that I'm not able to answer for you, I will certainly take note and try to follow up with the administrative team. Okay, so again, I'm going to be covering Canvas Analytics. So this is currently available in your Canvas environment. It's currently a feature flag on a course-by-course basis. So if it is something that an instructor does want to enable, they would have to go to their settings and turn that feature flag on and then enable it in their course navigation. So course analytics is currently available for instructors and students. So I'll show you what the student view looks like as well as the instructor view for a test course that I have that I'm going to show you guys. But if you haven't checked this out already, this is kind of what it looks like when you go into your new analytics area. You can look at the weekly online activity, and it will show you average page views for a course. You can also, so by default, this all sections portion will show, so it's an average for everyone in the course. And then you can actually add different sections if you kind of want to see the variations there, or you can compare on a student by student basis if you'd like. So there's a couple of different options there. And this is just course level analytics, so it's just going to be available on a course by course basis. And there's also some really cool embedded communication workflows that I'm going to show you. So there's ways that you can see communication with each individual student. You can also message directly from the new analytics page students who scored within a certain range on an assignment, quiz, or discussion, if they're missing or if they're late. So I will walk you guys through that as well. Okay, and I'm just actually going to pull this over. Okay, so this is one of my test courses that I wanted to kind of highlight the new analytics thing. So first, if you don't have it enabled already in your course, what you will want to do is go to your settings in the course. You can go to your feature options tab. And then what you will want to do is make sure that this new course and user analytics option is enabled. So this is already enabled in my course specifically, but if you are just enabling it, you'll want to navigate to your navigation tab here. And then by default, it should be disabled. You would want to refresh the screen so that new analytics would appear. You can enable that and place it wherever you'd like within your course navigation. And then of course, make sure you click save. Because this is already enabled, I won't do that. But what I'm going to show you, we'll click on new analytics. So this is specifically the instructor view. So, move this out of my way. So this is what it's going to look like. Like I said before, the all sections area is going to be there by default every single time. You can see that assignments, discussions, and quizzes are going to be included within new analytics. That does include new quizzes as well. So when we do move over to new quizzes for Penn State, that information should be rolled up in here as well. So what it looks like for everyone, you can click on an assignment and it will show you the assignment name. It will show you the due date associated. You have the option to message students who, which I'll cover in a moment. You can see the average grade, the lowest grade, and the highest grade. Now, this one is not the best example because everyone scored 100% on this one. So this might be a better example. So this is the Shining pre-assessment in my advanced film appreciation course. So this kind of gives you a better idea of what the average grade is. The majority of my students did not fare very well on this assessment. And you can see what the lowest score was as well as the highest, how many are missing and how many are late. So I'll also show you guys what it looks like to differentiate between students. So we will look at Gael Garcia Bernal, and he will show up as this green dot. So you can see the green dot kind of overtakes the previous blue one because he also scored 100% and the course average was 100%. I don't believe I have any sections in this course, so we're just going to compare a couple of different students. Let's do Shirley Temple. So Shirley Temple is going to be this kind of purple pink dot. So this is a good way to, if you want to compare the course average with individual students in your course. Again, like I said, you can also enter section names in here if you have sections set up within that course to give you an idea of where these different individuals are falling and if there's maybe anywhere that you need to reach out to specific students or sections to see what might be going on. So for accessibility reasons, you can also display shapes just to kind of give you a better view of who is who. So again, the courses is going to be this blue circle. Gael Garcia Bernal is going to be this green square. And then Shirley Temple is going to be this purple pink diamond. So what we can do as well, you can click on the individual students and you can see the last time they accessed the assignment, the name of the course and the section that they're in. It's also, again, going to give you that due date and time. And it will show you this right here to signify whether it was on time, missing, or late. And then you can see their percentage that they received on the assessment, as well as the average, again, of the entire course. So you can message them directly from here. But if we click on the overall course blue dot, we can message students within a time frame. So if I want to message, say, students who received between 0 and 50%, I can enter that, and it will automatically generate the students who received a score within that range. So one thing I want to point out here is this BCC essentially means that you can send messages to these students, but they're not going to see each other on the message. It's essentially going to send out 3 individual messages to the students. So they're not all replying to one another. They're essentially just going to see it coming from you and can reply directly to you as the instructor. So you can also do this with missing assignments. So there's one student that did not submit to this assessment. So you can reach out just to see what might be going on, if they need an extension potentially. And then you can also reach out to students who had submitted the assignment late. So those are all of the current options within New Analytics with the messaging feature. So you can also see the icons down here. They're going to indicate if it was a discussion that you're looking at. This little quiz icon right here, it's going to be quiz within the course. And then of course the assignment icon here as well is going to signify assignments. All right, another thing that you can do is instead of looking at it in this view, you can look at it as a data table, which essentially just puts it in table format where you can see the individual scores for these people that you have or sections listed up here. So you can see all sections, the average is 100%. They both, Shirley and Gael Garcia, both received 100%. So you can kind of compare it in that way as well. And then you can see the due date specifically for each of these individual assignments, quizzes, or discussions. Okay. One thing I also want to note with New Analytics is that it is updated on a 24-hour time frame. So one thing that you're going to want to be really cognizant of when you're looking at this is this date right here. So this was last updated yesterday at 2:41 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So you're kind of going to want to look at this and try to think if you have had any assignments due in the last 24 hours, if you've graded anything in the last 24 hours. That may not necessarily be reflected in New Analytics. So if you want to give it until 2:41 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time today, all of that data should be refreshed and updated in this New Analytics page. So that's just something that you want to keep in mind as you're looking at this. It can be somewhat outdated if it has been less than 24 hours since the last refresh. Of course, at the top, it shows your average course grade total, which is 63.82% in my course. Let's see. So you can also look at weekly activity, weekly online activity. So this is going to show you, and we'll look at it in this view, average page views. So this is somewhat of an old course. This course was I created this course back in fall of 2018. So these page views are going to hover around 0 for this specific example, but in one of your active courses, you should see some variations here as well. So you can also see average participation. Now, when we say participation, what that means is a student has actively contributed to an assignment, a discussion, or a quiz. And so page views are going to be different. That's just going to be when they are actively clicking around in this particular course. If you hover over participation, it's also going to give you somewhat of a summary of what that means. The count of times students have contributed to a specific page. So again, contributed would mean submitting a quiz, an assignment, or commenting on a discussion. So this page is nice. You can see the individual students who have accessed this, how many times they have viewed that page, as well as participation. And this is for the individual items in your course. And then you can also look at it on a student basis. So if we just get rid of all of this and we want to look at all of the students in this course, it's going to show the individual students' grades in the course, as well as the percentage of items that they have submitted on time. So this is really good to look at. Obviously, my lowest is Catherine Hepburn, so I may want to consider reaching out to Catherine to see what might be going on, if she needs any specific help or accommodations. You can also see the last participation. So again, participation is going to be when they submitted to something. And you can also see the last page views of the last time that they were actively clicking around in this course. It will show the amount of total page views within this course during their enrollment time. And again, the amount of times that they participated or contributed to the course. All right. And then I also wanted to quickly show you guys what this is going to look like for students. So I'm going to stop masquerading as my instructor. And I'm going to go in and act as a student. So I will be Gael Garcia Bernal. So this is what it's going to look like to him. Oh, let's see. So students should be able to view it from the new analytics page. Let's check the navigation. So that is enabled. Let's see. We'll click on the course. It's interesting that it doesn't show. So typically the way that students would access it, I'm not totally sure why this individual student is not able to see it. But we can look into that. I don't want to take too much time digging into that. But typically they would click on the home page and they would also see this new analytics button. And what they would see is just their averages. So they could see their average grade in the course, the individual assignments that they scored on, similar to the grades page. And then they would also see the last time they interacted, the last time they participated. So it's really the same thing. They just would not see other students' data within that new analytics page. So I will stop there and I'll open it up for questions. I'll look at the Q&A. Okay. Do the messages you send through new analytics get saved somewhere so that you can reference or search through them later? Yes, so they should be saved within your inbox. So you should be able to navigate back to your inbox if you need to go back and reference them. Is Meryl getting any help in this course? Okay. I had the same experience in Student View. You can't see the new analytics tab. I'm curious if there's a way to disable it from Student View, but allow me to still see it. When I disable it from Student View, it is disabled from my view. That is a good question. So if you disable it, I have this Zoom bar in the way. So if you disable it from, let's try this out real quick. Let's disable this. Oops. Okay, so that is now showing down here in the disabled items to hide from students. Yeah, it also disappears from view here. So Jennifer, that's a good question. I am going to take note of that and see if I can look into that further. That's definitely a good question if it is something that you want to remove from your students' navigation, but keep in your course navigation when you're looking at it as the instructor. So I will look into that one, and I'll follow up internally with your administrative team, and they could potentially pass that answer along to you with what I find. Okay. Any other questions around new analytics before we move on? Okay. All right. So I also wanted to cover some rich content editor enhancements that we are working on. So this one is not currently available in Penn State's Canvas instance, but it is something that we are looking at pushing out soon here at Instructure. So I wanted to kind of walk you guys through what that's going to look like. It is a fairly different UI. So I wanted to cover some of the notable differences for you guys. So the main thing, the goal with the new rich content editor was really just to simplify the UI to make it a bit more intuitive and easy to use. So with simplifying the UI, which is the user interface, the toolbar contains just one row instead of two. So I'm going to show you guys, when I do the demo, I'm going to show you a comparison of what it looks like in the new rich content editor versus what you're currently using, just so that you guys kind of have an idea of what the change looks like. So it is going to be all condensed into one row with similar icons and options rolled into one that becomes somewhat of a drop down. So there's also going to be no more content selector. So that content selector that pops up on the right hand side when you are currently adding files or images and things like that to the course, that's actually going to be built into the new rich content editor. So there's no longer going to be that right hand content selector. There's also going to be a new plugin icon for third-party apps. So for any third-party tools that you have installed in the Penn State instance or within your course directly, those are all going to be visible through this little plug icon at the top right of the new rich content editor. Another difference, and I believe we've already made this change with the current rich content editor, but we have partnered with Unsplash. We previously used Flickr for just searching generic images within the rich content editor. So with the new RCE, we will be using Unsplash, which is just a little bit more secure, and it's something that our partnerships team has been working on for quite some time. So it's a welcome change there. And then there's also going to be an autosave feature with the new rich content editor, which I am pretty excited about. I think from a support perspective, a lot of times if you lose internet connection and you've been working on a certain page in Canvas or an assignment description for an hour and you lose internet connection, all of that work has been lost. So with this autosave feature, it actually saves every single keyboard click. So that if you do lose internet connection or you accidentally refresh your page or navigate away unintentionally, you can come back and a little pop-up message will say, hey, you have some unsaved content if you want to go back and look at it, or you can just ignore it if you choose to. So I will show you guys that option as well. And then as far as accessibility goes, there is some alt text options for images that I'll also walk people through as well. And then there's also Alt F9 or Option F9 menu additions as well. So just some accessibility pieces there. Okay, and also just going to bring this over. All right, so this is your sneak peek of what the new rich content editor looks like. And I also wanted to show you guys what the current one is, just so you can kind of see a visualization of the difference. So with the current one, we have these two rows of options within the rich content editor. With the new RCE, it's going to be one specific line. And one other thing I wanted to point out is if you change your screen size at all, these options sync down to a little options area where you can click this and it will show the options that are hidden. But typically full screen, you should see every option that is available there. Okay. So the first thing I want to point out, some of these are condensed into different areas. So previously, all of these were listed out within the old RCE. These become drop downs. So you have some different options for bulleting, numbering, or lettering. With the new RCE as well, there's also going to be this little red arrow that's going to show you a few of the last items that you've used most recently within the new rich content editor. And then you can also add links or edit specific links within the page that you're working on. You can upload images, so you can upload an image directly from your computer, or you can use the course images if you have the permission to add those. And then you can also upload them directly from your user files that you have within Canvas, within your general user files. So what that's going to look like, I'll show you guys. Instead of the content selector, this is going to pop up when you select that. So you can select user files, or you can also use this drop down to select course files or add individual links. There's also ways to sort this as well. You can sort it alphabetically if you'd like, if that helps you find what you're looking for. You can search by date added. And then there's also different ways that you can filter this as well. And then there is the media options that we have. So you can look at course media, user media again, or use the native tool within Canvas. And then you can upload documents here as well. Essentially the same story. You would upload a document, you can upload it from your computer. You can upload it from your course documents here. Use that drop down. You can also use all files and it will show you your individual folders that you have available to you. Okay. And then this is the plug-in icon that I was previously referring to on the slide deck. This is going to show any third-party tools that you, again, have installed within your instance or within your course. So I don't have a ton available here, but I'm sure there's going to be much more available to you guys. So this is just kind of a new addition. And again, there are a lot of enhancements that they are still working on with this new rich content editor. And I'll cover a few in a moment, but what I also wanted to highlight is the keyboard options, shortcuts that you have available right here for you to look at. You can also check this accessibility checker to see if there's anything within the page that you're working on that you might need to correct. So this would be a way to add alt text to images. It's going to check for any major accessibility issues. So with this one, image file names should not be used as the alt attribute describing the image content. So you can actually change the alt text here to describe what the image actually is for anyone with those accessibility needs. And then once you've done that, you can click through the individual issues that it has caught and make those changes if needed. There's also a word count here. And then we do have an HTML editor as well. So if you click on this, it will bring you to the HTML version of the page if any of you want to do any sort of customizations via HTML. And that should be everything. So again, this is what it looks like with the new rich content editor. And then this is with the old. So there are a fair amount of differences. This content selector again is going away. This is being condensed into one line. And then I also wanted to talk about some of the new things that they're still working on before the rich content editor will be pushed out. So a couple of things that they're working on are some LTI favoriting options. So this would really apply to administrators specifically, where they could select preferred media tools that they want to show up on the rich content editor bar for everyone, or any individual tools that they really want to highlight within that bar, and then everything else would still be available through that plugin icon. They're also working on a static toolbar. So I don't know if you noticed, but when I was scrolling on that page, the toolbar would disappear and you would have to scroll back up to it to use it. So they're working on a static toolbar that will float within the top of the screen as you're scrolling, so that you don't have to scroll all the way back up if you need to use any of those items. And then there are still some accessibility pieces that they are working on adding, including media subtitles and closed captions. So those are just to name a few. There's definitely some other improvements that they're working on, but those are the key pieces that they want to have ready before this is rolled out. So I will pause there for questions. So will autosave also auto-publish? No, so it will, I'll actually show you guys what that looks like. I didn't do that. So if I make a change to this, and then I navigate away, I'll leave this. And then if I go back to, so it'll say found auto-saved content. Auto-saved content exists. Would you like to load the auto-saved content instead? You can preview what was changed, so you can kind of decide if you want to load that or not. And then if not, you can click no, or you can click yes. So if you click yes, it will automatically publish if the page or assignment you're working on is published, but if not, no. Is the autosave? It should be, yes. So is the autosave feature also enabled for students writing on discussion boards? Yes. So anywhere that the new rich content editor will be available, and the autosave feature is enabled as well, it should work. Do we have a limit for user images storage? Is that the same as the course storage limit additional? So the user storage is actually separate from the course storage limit. So people can update that, or people can upload images to their user files, and that would not affect your course storage. But depending on how they are submitting that, if they submit a large image file to the course, that could potentially count against your course storage. So it depends on how they're using that image. I hope that answers the question. What do you mean by closed captions? Does that mean videos created in Canvas would get machine generated captions? So yes, right now, I believe we use a third-party tool called Amara to automatically generate captions. So they're also working on a piece. I'm not totally sure if it's with Amara as well, but they're working on a piece that would automatically generate those closed captions. Which button allows you to embed from Kaltura? So right now, if you were to have this enabled in your instance, you would use this plugin icon to find Kaltura and be able to embed from there. But with the LTI favoriting option, your Penn State could potentially choose to favorite that LTI so that it's automatically available and more visible to your users, so that they would know to use that over, say, the native tool. Is the plugin link? Yes. So currently, yes, is the plugin link where Kaltura and Office 365 end up? Yes, but with LTI favoriting, depending on what Penn State chooses to favorite, it will either show up in that plugin area or it will show up within the toolbar itself if they choose to favorite it. RCE not here yet. When will it be available? So our current enforcement date that we're looking at is a December timeframe, but really it's up to Penn State if they want to wait for that enforcement date in December or if they want to turn it on a little bit sooner. So I think the main thing that Penn State is waiting on and a lot of other schools are waiting on is that LTI favoriting feature before pushing it out to people. So I would potentially direct that question to your administrators. But if it is not enabled before then, it will be turned on for everyone in December. Okay, can we use Amara with videos we create in Canvas? Yeah, so with the current rich content editor, there is a way to caption videos, and there's a guide on it that I can share if you'd like. If you just search in our Canvas guides in the community, you can search how to add captions to videos, and it will show you how to do that within Canvas right now. So that would be with the old rich content editor, but yes. Why does Canvas auto apply header 3? So why does Canvas auto apply a header 3 instead of header 2 to the first heading upon adding content? I don't know that one off the top of my head, Wade. I can certainly note that and look into it for you so that we can see if we can find an answer. Okay. Any other questions before we move on? All right. Okay, so we are moving on to the student assignments enhancements piece. So like I mentioned at the beginning of this, this is currently only available in beta for administrators to test. So this is not something that students are seeing yet. The release date is still to be determined. Our product team is still trying to iron out a lot of different timelines, and this is something that they have not made a decision on yet. So we don't have a date for this, but I did just want to give you guys a sneak peek of what it will potentially look like for students when they are submitting assignments. So what this is going to look like, these are a couple of differences with it. The assignment summary header is always visible when viewing the assignment, and it floats at the top of the page. So again, as they're moving throughout the assignment and scrolling, that should always be floating at the top. The submission process, and I think this is the most exciting piece, the submission process is summarized in a status timeline at the top of the assignment. So currently within Canvas, when students submit an assignment, there's not necessarily a great way for them to track whether it has been submitted or not. Obviously, they would have that green checkbox submitted icon at the top, but there seems to consistently always be a lot of confusion with students saying they submitted assignments when it didn't actually fully go through. So we're really hoping that this improvement will cut down on a lot of that confusion. And the assignment details can also be minimized within the page. So if the assignment details outlining the description of the assignment and what the student needs to do is very long, there's going to be a drop down where they can open up that assignment description or they can close that out so that it's not taking up the whole screen. Submissions can be drafted in the assignment without requiring an immediate submission. So they can leave drafts there and they don't have to submit it immediately. They can always come back to that if needed. History of the submission type comments and the assignment rubric, if any is attached, are located in their own tabs. So I'll show you guys what that's going to look like as well when a student is submitting their assignment. Submission types, comments, and any rubric grading is retained with each attempt and viewable by both students and the instructor. So for the instructors, SpeedGrader displays comments based on submission attempt. Okay, so this is a general view of what students are going to see when they go to submit an assignment. So it's going to show the module that they're in, the name of the assignment, it'll show the due date and time, points available, and then the calculation method. So the most recent submission attempt is going to be what they're graded on. And then if there's this green check mark right here, it means that the assignment is available, meaning that it's in an unlocked module or that the availability dates are allowing for submissions. So this is the details area of the assignment. So again, there's going to be this little drop down right here, and they can click on that to hide the details, and then they can always go back and open that if needed. And then there is this attempt tab. So depending on the submission types that you have selected for the individual assignment, they can click this drop down and they can choose whichever submission type they prefer, whether it's text entry, file upload, any of those. And then there's also, like I said, that comments area that they can click on to view comments on the assignments or share comments with the instructor. And then they can view the rubric that may or may not be associated with the assignment. Okay. So this is what it would look like for a text entry. So this is kind of that draft option where they could start an entry and then they could come back to it later if needed. So again, it's going to show kind of a different version of that status bar right here where it will show available. And this is the point that they are at where they are working on submitting the assignment. It's going to be this open circle showing that they have not fully submitted yet. It's also, again, going to show the name of the assignment, the due date and time, as well as the points available and the calculation method. So can instructors see the drafts? I just saw that answer pop up. No, they cannot. They will not be able to see anything until the student officially submits that assignment. Okay. So this is what it's going to look like if the assignment is unavailable, meaning that it's in a locked module or it's past the availability dates, so that it won't be available for submission. You'll also see these tags here. So there's going to be a red missing tag if they're missing their submission for the assignment. There's also going to be a gray late tag if it's a late submission. Okay, again, highlighting this details area where you can open it and hide it as needed. One thing I wanted to show here is we recently released a feature to limit submission attempts, and that should be available by mid-July for you. So if it is something that you do end up doing where you decide you want to give specific students, say 2 submission attempts on an assignment, this attempt area will show them how many attempts they have and how many times they have submitted. So attempt 1 of 1, the specific assignment was limited to 1 submission, but if you limited it to 3, it would be attempt 1 of 3. Okay, and then they can also click on this rubrics area to view those rubrics. Okay, and this is what it's going to look like if they decide to upload a file. And if they would like to choose a different submission type, they can use this drop down here as well. Once they have submitted an assignment, it will say uploaded, and then it will say submitted. So it will have these green check boxes to really indicate that they have successfully submitted their assignment to Canvas. And then once that's done, they'll be able to see kind of a doc view or outline of what their assignment submission looks like. So they would, depending on how you set up the assignment, if you, sorry, I'm answering the question in the chat. Steve says, where do SpeedGrader and Turnitin fit here? So students wouldn't have a view of SpeedGrader. So this is really just the view of the student. So you would still have access to SpeedGrader the same way you do currently with assignments. So they would not have that option, but with Turnitin, it would essentially show up under the attempt area the same way that it currently does. They would just be submitting through Turnitin if you set that up as an external tool for that assignment. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Daniel says, will students be able to see Instructure-made annotations on the document in this view? That is a good question, and I do not want to give you an inaccurate answer. I'm not totally sure off the top of my head, Daniel, but let me write that down and I will follow up on that one. Turnitin doesn't currently allow multiple submissions. Okay. Oh. Is there any other questions around the student assignment enhancements before we move on to new quizzes? I want to make sure we have enough time. I think we have about 14 minutes left. Okay. All right, new quizzes. So I'm going to give you guys a demo of new quizzes as well. But I also wanted to just give you a quick verbal overview. So new quizzes is going to be, the current timeline for new quizzes is that it will also be enforced in December, but again, it's up to Penn State whether they want to allow new quiz usage before then or wait for that enforcement date. So it's going to be available through the quizzes page the same way that you would create a current quiz right now. So I'll walk you guys through those steps in a moment, but some new things with new quizzes, there's some additional question types that have been added. So there is a categorization question type where you can ask students to give them a couple of different categories and ask them to move things into the correct category, as well as some ordering question types. There's also a stimulus or passage question type where you can just add a video or some type of content, and you have the option to associate a question with it, or you can just leave it as a video and potentially say, watch this video and use it to answer the next 4 questions. There's also a hotspot question type, which is really cool, where you can add an image and ask a student to click on a certain area to answer the question. So you can also duplicate the quiz from the quizzes page. You can do this currently with the classic quizzing tool as well. With new quizzes, you can also tag item banks so that you can easily search for what you might be looking for. You can also require a waiting period between attempts. So this is something that was not available with classic quizzes. So if you do want to do that, I'll show you guys how to do it, but you can require them to wait an hour in between their submission attempts if it's something that you would like to do. There's also going to be options to shuffle the questions globally so that students aren't receiving those questions in the same order. You can shuffle answers per question. So if you want to leave some of them the same and then just shuffle specific answers for individual questions within your quiz, you can do that as well. And then with the moderate feature, there's also an option to add extra time for the individual student or if they have a general accommodation that needs to be applied across all quizzes in the course, you would have the option to do that as well. Okay, I also wanted to cover really quickly what the current migration option is going to look like. So what our product team is looking at doing right now is giving the option to migrate courses or migrate classic quizzes to new quizzes via copying courses. They can import the assessment content as new quizzes. It's really just going to be a checkbox here. So it really shouldn't interrupt any workflows. So as you're moving from one semester to another, you can copy quizzes into your new course as a new quizzes exam. Can we copy over question banks that are large, 50 to 100 questions per bank from traditional quizzes to new quizzes? So from what I've heard from our product team, they're still kind of ironing out the details with the migration process with question banks. But they have told us that migrating the question banks should work as well. I'm not totally sure. I would assume with large question banks as well it would work. But I can take that as a follow-up. I'm not 100% on that one. So I'll follow up with you on that one, Ryan. Okay. All right, and you can also use it through the import content option. So if you have a course export package that you want to import or an export package from Commons, this option is going to display as well when you are importing content. So William says, for quizzes, is it possible to present, say, random 5 out of 20 questions at a time to students? Currently, we can present 1 question at a time, which is tough on students or all at once. I don't believe so, William. So sorry, I didn't finish reading that question. So yes, currently we can present 1 question at a time, which is tough on students, or all at once, which presents exam security issues. So I think what you're asking, William, is if you can, say, present 5 questions at a time before they can move on to the next 5 or so on. And I don't believe that that is an option, unfortunately. Okay. And Russell asks, will we be able to see the questions and possible answers for exams over 25 items with new quizzes? There is a restriction with the current quiz feature. I am not totally sure on that one, Russell. I may also need to follow up. I'm going to take a minute to step away from the QA just so that we have time to just look at what new quizzes is going to look like. So I'll show you guys. My course right here. So I have new quizzes enabled here. Once it's enabled in your Canvas environment, you will have the option to use new quizzes or classic quizzes in tandem for about a year or so. So if you click plus quiz, it will give you the option to choose a quiz engine. So you'd have the option to choose classic or move forward with new quizzes. You can also click remember my choice for this course. And so that whenever you go to create a quiz, you don't have to select this option every single time. If you do this, and you want to eventually change it back to classic quizzes if needed, oops, you can just click this dot icon and click reset quiz engine choice. So I'm going to show you guys what building a new quiz looks like. So quiz example, you can give it your point value. So this looks very similar to when you're initially setting up a quiz in classic quizzes. You can assign it to whoever you'd like, give it a due date. We'll make this due next week. Assign availability dates if needed, and you can save and publish. Okay, and then this brings you to the new quizzes build page. So it is significantly different from what you see in classic quizzes. So I want to show you guys how you would set up a quiz. So again, here's the title of that quiz that I just created. You can always edit it here and make adjustments. And then you can also add instructions to the quiz. So please answer to the best of your ability. And then this plus icon is going to allow you to start adding questions. So once you click that, it's going to give you the option for which question type you would like to use. There's an item bank icon right here if you'd like to pull in specific questions from item banks that you already have set up. Or you can set up some of these different options. So categorization, this is what it's going to look like. You can give it a question title. And then you can also add a question stem to further describe the question. And then you can set up the categories. You can add more categories as well through this. You can set up distractors as well that won't fit into any specific category. And then you have an option to display an on-screen calculator if you'd like. And there's a couple of different options here. So I just kind of wanted to highlight some of the newer options that we have for you. So there's ordering as well. You can type the question stem, and the label, and then the answers. You also have these options as well. I think we're running out of time, so I apologize if I'm speeding through this. There's a hotspot answer, which I think is really cool. I'll actually just show you a quiz that I have already set up using the hotspot to show you what that will look like. But while we're here, I'm going to show you what the settings look like. So this is your build page where you're adding descriptions and questions. If you want to make adjustments to any of the settings for the exam, you can come here. So you can shuffle questions, shuffle answers, show one question at a time, and then require a student access code, time limit, filter by IP addresses, again, allow an on-screen calculator for the entire exam. Again, like you saw previously, you would have that option on an individual question by question basis if you'd like as well. And then if you allow multiple attempts, this is where you can enter that waiting period where you can say require time between attempts. And then you can enter the amount of time that you would like students to wait. Okay, there's also some reporting options that are available. I won't go into too much detail here. And here is the moderate area. This is what it's going to look like. You can search for individual students here. And you can also use this drop down to filter by no attempts left, attempts in progress, all of these different options. And so you can moderate for the specific student for this specific exam through this option. Or you can do an accommodation. When you set an accommodation, the setting will be applied to all course assessments for the student. So again, that's going back to just allowing them, all students, more time on a specific exam, or allowing the specific student additional attempts for every single exam, depending on what their accommodation needs are. So I wanted to show you guys really quick with our last couple minutes what this is going to look like once you have a quiz all set up. So this is just an example quiz that I have. So there's a categorization question, a couple of those, some matching questions. So really, I'm going to show you guys what this is going to look like to students. So if we click preview, it loads. Okay. So this is what it's going to look like to students, depending on the quiz settings that you have set up. So they're going to view this question like this. They can drag and drop into the individual categories that are set up. So this one is a multiple choice option. There's an option here. I want to get to the hotspot to show you guys kind of what that looks like. So this is a file upload question. I apologize for rushing through this. So this is one. So where it says identify the rectangle. So you can click on this with your hotspot and click on whatever you think the answer is, and then you would click next. So that's what kind of the hotspot looks like. It would be an image where they would have to identify a certain area on the screen that the instructor specifies when setting up that hotspot for that. Okay, I'm going to look at the questions really quick, see if we can get any answers before we're up on time. Emily says, can you upload a Word doc for exam creation? I may need more clarification on that. Are you asking if you can upload that to a specific question, or like importing a Word doc as a new quiz? I'm not totally sure on that one. Right now, all students show up in the moderate window, even if they can't view the quiz. Will that be fixed? So Emily, right now, there are quite a few issues with the moderate area within new quizzes. So I don't know if you noticed when we were looking at the moderate area here, they're really not within any specific order. And that's just something that was kind of overlooked upon the initial new quizzes creation. So they're actually ordered by a background identifier that you don't actually see. So that's something that's going to be improved. I'll look into if what you're asking for is going to be fixed as well. But there's a couple of different issues with the moderate page and the way that it is currently organized that they are working on correcting. Okay, importing a Word doc as a new quiz. I don't believe that that is going to be an option, Emily.
Okay, you got through all the questions, Brianna.
Oh.
Good job. Oh, one more just popped in. We'll go ahead and make time for it. Are there Canvas instructors that can meet with me one-on-one to set up my course?
So we do have some training options that are available. You would probably have to reach out to your administrative team. We do have some really great videos and guides in the community. And you can also always you can probably contact your support team and they'd be willing to walk you through those how-to questions if needed.
Yeah, we can make sure that we get you some resources. So, okay, well, we are a minute past time, but this video recording will be up on our YouTube channel on either Monday or Tuesday. So if you need to go back and review it, you can do that. But Brianna, thanks so much for coming and sharing all of that information with us. I will send you the people that you're going to follow up with so that you have their questions. So thanks so much. We appreciate it. And we'll see everybody else here next Wednesday.
Thanks, everyone.